Stephen A. Smith, bro, we're over it, dog. For whatever reason, we're this removed from the incident that happened earlier this year where LeBron decided to approach Stephen A. in the middle of an NBA game and still makes appearances on podcasts and keeps talking about it. And for whatever reason, it seems as if like it still does not get any better. Dog, it's done.
When I saw D-Wade on this show with Melo, I cannot tell you how touched I was. It didn't matter to me whether they agreed with me or not. What they both said is we fuck with Stephen A. Because you got a lot of cats out there, and I'm just gonna say some sorry motherfuckers in the NBA right now that all of a sudden forgot who I was and who I've been just because of some situation with LeBron. What that got to do with y'all? Why would you have personal animus towards me because of what happened with me and LeBron? I'm gonna remember those cats. You know me and my memory now. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna forget. Yeah. I ain't gonna do nothing. I ain't gonna do anything, but I ain't gonna forget. Okay, and when I remember something, that I'm gonna remember.
You would have thought this man is like 22 years old. Why are you talking like you're a teenager? I'm gonna remember that. My nigga, you are like 50 or 60 years old. Who genuinely cares? A. B. The players in today's game, in today's league, may not have the same level of relationship that you have with yesteryear players because they didn't grow up with you in the locker rooms as a reporter. They grew up with you as an entertainer on TV. That's how they know you. That's the perception that they know you in. So the relationships, the moments, the experiences with you in contrast to Melo and LeBron and Wade and Chris Paul and some of the older people will be different. But in all honesty, who cares?
Now let me get to LeBron. I don't like his ass. I'm not going to go into detail at the shit this man has tried to do to me. People don't understand the links this man would go to. You know, I believe he's one way publicly, he's another way privately. If it were up to him, I wouldn't be where I am today.
Did he try to get you off the air?
You understand what I'm saying? I'm not going there. Okay. Figure it out.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
Because I'm not going to find myself in a position where it can get uglier. I'm not going to do it.
Now, let's stop right there for a second. I'm going to give Stephen A. Smith the benefit of the doubt that they've had ongoings throughout the last 10 years that has led us up to this moment. And let's also just say what Stephen A. Smith is saying is true. I don't put it past LeBron one way or another that he potentially flex his power to try to get Stephen A. out of the way because he may not have reported or talked about him in his mind in a very favorable way. I don't believe that to be true about Stephen A. Smith on LeBron. I think for most of Stephen A.'s existence, especially if we're talking about over the past 10 to 15 years, it has leaned more favorable or at least neutral when it comes to LeBron. I think that's a very fair assessment. And if LeBron feels otherwise, I don't, put it across LeBron to do something about it. It's also inappropriate for LeBron to use his power to try to get Stephen A. off the airways and potentially block him from any form of, financial success that he has today. That's inappropriate. All right. I will say this, though, however, the irony of Stephen A. Smith saying that when out of his own mouth, he got Max Kellerman off the air. Stephen A. Smith out of his own mouth said that he went to the front office, up to the execs and told them, hey, if Max really ain't important to y'all got to make a decision. It's going to be him or I'm going to just go somewhere else. That's what he said. Now, that may not be directly as, oh, yeah, get rid of Max. But you obviously know what that puts the executives in, the position that they put them in, especially after Skip Bayless left. And I don't believe, or at least he hasn't said, that he was going to tell Max Kellerman that, and he did it behind his back. I also find it very odd that this is the same man. Egregious claims about LeBron and his relationship with, I believe it was Wade or Melo going to the Hall of Fame and how he wasn't present there. But when it was Max Kellerman's last day on ESPN, he wasn't present. And furthermore, and I feel as if like he's going to continue to make very, very steep assumptions. There are a lot of things that this man assumes that turns out to just not be true. But again, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. And if what he's saying about LeBron is true, LeBron is wrong for that. But don't be too loud about that. Trust me, I've learned. Don't be too loud about your criticisms to others, especially if you've done very, very similar things.
The day that he rolled up on me, it was the day my contract was announced. that I had stayed with ESPN, blah, blah, blah. When he rolled up on me in the third quarter, this is 2025. We got technology everywhere. How is it we got one angle and the only angle you see was of him in his face? Y'all guess. I'm not going there. Okay. I'm just telling you what I see. Remember, I'm in this business. There's no way that you're in an arena, you're LeBron James, and the only angle that somebody sees is a straight up shot of you getting in my face. They see no reaction, they see nothing, and that's an accident.
All right, so I'll ask you straight up.
It doesn't happen.
I'll ask you straight up. Do you think you felt set up in that moment?
Damn right. Damn right I did.
You thought he had somebody out there too?
Damn right that did. Okay. Damn right. That's how I feel.
Okay.
Now, let's get the facts straight. A, we know for a fact, we know who actually filmed that. It's another content creator. It's a YouTuber by the name of Flight Mike. That's who actually filmed it. Not somebody who's on Clutch payroll that he paid. No, that's not what happened. Two, nigga, you're still lying. There's multiple angles of it. It's already been revealed. There were at least 2 or 3 other people that were recording the incident. That's just the one that went viral. But there were multiple incidents that actually showed what actually occurred. But there were multiple angles of what actually occurred in that incident. So no, you're wrong again. And 3, dog, bro, you are the one who gets in front of a camera on ESPN on your daytime show, sitting there huffing and puffing. You know where to find me. And then when someone actually checks you on that, all of a sudden, y'all setting me up. You set me. How dare you set me up when you ask for it? You ask for that. So be careful about what you asking for then. Don't be sitting there saying, oh, he set me up. Oh, all these cameras and nobody else caught my angle. Oh my God, I know it was a setup. Nigga, you asked for it. You been huffing and puffing, talking about, I'm at the game. You know where I'm at. You can come find me. So a nigga came and found you. Stop complaining about that. Someone came and found you. But this idea that, oh, it's this conspiracy theory that they had a camera angle, they set you up. We know who did it. We know it's a content creator. So no. And there's multiple other angles. No.
Richard Jefferson is doing the game in Boston. Still mic'd. He's working for ESPN. And we see LeBron say to him, yo, man, when he said, as a father, I had it. So I'm thinking, oh, that's not about Bronny. That's about you. I wasn't the one that said I ain't never seen no All-American averaging 14 points a game. No, McDonald's All-American averaging. That was Kendrick Perkins. He goes to USC. He has the heart ailment. Our heart goes out to him. We praying that he's going to be okay. He wants to enter the NBA draft, even though he hasn't really played on a collegiate level. All right, fine. But what LeBron James has done for this league, everybody shut up. If that's where he wants and that's where he could, manipulate, no problem. Congratulations. Oh, he ends up getting drafted by the Los Angeles Lakers. Congratulations. No problem. Oh, he ends up being there opening night. That father-son moment with Ken Griffey Jr. and Sr. in attendance. I was there at the game, standing up, clapping. No problem. When this brother was in the G League, and then the next day, J.J. Redick decides to bring him in the first quarter and ask him to guard Tyrese Maxey.
Yeah.
Go back and watch the film.
Yeah.
If you could literally feel or see somebody drooling at the mouth, give me the ball. You know.
Not gonna lie, what it sounds like is, Stephen A., you were a part of the problem, because I'm gonna be honest with y'all, I was very critical of Bronny being in the NBA, and I did not hold my tongue about it, and I don't think anybody really should held their tongue about it. The idea that Bronny was going to be in a league solely off of nepotism should have received some criticism, because that certainly puts into question the validity of not only who he is as an athlete, but the validity of other players being in a league or not being in a league. You deciding to hold your tongue on it, respectfully, you don't get credit for that, my nigga. If you felt like it should have been criticized, then criticize it, my nigga, because at that point, if you decide to hold your tongue in one incident, but not hold your tongue in the other, then it does question, why would you? Why the inconsistency? If you were willing to ignore Bronny the entire time, then ignore him this time. But just because you decided you were going to play around with the foolishness that was the rollout tour of a second-round pick, let's keep it a being. And we gonna really get to why, because you fucking beating around the bush around a bunch of bullshit. You played a part of the circus. So wear that clown nose, nigga. You were a part of the circus. You were sitting there clapping it up. Not me. We all knew it was nepotism. We knew it was. We knew that. That's what it was. And so if you want to put the clown nose on and clap up nepotism, and have a damn 30-minute segment waiting for a second round pick. You did that. Wear that clown nose, nigga. Wear it. And at that point, I don't know why you would be upset when you've been putting that clown nose on the entire time and all of a sudden you wanted to take it off. I don't know why.
And I'm like, you can't do that to him. But you also can't do that to us. We're the media. Now you asking us not to cover the game. You can't do that to us.
This right here is where it's straight fucking bullshit. It is so tiresome of Stephen A. Smith playing this victim role. Like, I'm a media dog. What do you want me? I gotta talk about it. Nigga, you don't talk about second round picks. You all don't do deep synopsis on footage and gameplay about what someone does or doesn't do. You don't do that. Stop it. Be very mindful that Bronny getting cooked wasn't even the biggest story of that game. The biggest story was AD got hurt and was going to be sidelined potentially up until All-Star game, and come to find out that was actually the last game that AD played with the Lakers uniform on. That was actually the biggest story of that game. Not that Bronny, for the 3 to 4 minutes he played in the first quarter, got cooked, because everyone was getting cooked. Bro, Tyrese Maxey dropped like 40 points. So out of the 40 points, how many were actually on Bronny? And why is it that you made that the talking point? Why is that? Why is it also that you are deciding to omit a lot of important information that also led up to that moment? Because I also saw him on a Pivot podcast, and he did the same thing as well. As if like LeBron is the one that checked in Bronny. As if like LeBron is the one that went to the G League, said, oh, he coming with me today. He gonna play today. He gonna play in the first quarter. Bro, Bronny was playing exceptionally well in the G League leading up to that game. In that game, Gabe Vincent was not available. Vando wasn't available. Like I already stated, AD got hurt in that game as well. And the Lakers were always looking for rotational players, specifically guards, that were in and out of G League. And a guard that the Lakers ended up landing on was Jordan Goodwin. Now, if you sitting there talking about, oh, we gotta talk about it, how come you don't talk about when Jordan Goodwin plays bad? Now, if you're gonna sit here and say, man, we gotta just talk about his basketball, we gotta talk about it. So why don't you talk about when Jordan Goodwin plays bad? When he gets torched, when he does boneheaded things, because Jordan Goodwin did like some dumb, stupid stuff where he tried to run up, grab the ball midair when it was getting passed to someone else, stole the ball out of his own teammate's hands basically and threw it off. He was doing dumb stuff all year last year. How come you didn't talk about that? How come you don't talk about Koloko? How come you don't talk about Jalen Hood-Schifino, all them other people that were in and out of the lineup, in and out of G League? Why don't you talk about them? Because the truth of the matter is, bro, you don't talk about basketball. I'm tired of us sitting here lying to ourselves that we come to Stephen A. Smith to talk about basketball, to break it down. No, nigga, you are an entertainer. That's what you do. You are someone that's concerned about ratings, not the integrity of how the game is being played. So you talk about what's going to get you ratings, and what got you ratings, and what has continued to get you ratings, and what will continue to get you ratings, which is why you keep going on these shows and these podcasts, and y'all got to keep talking about some shit that we done talked about 8 months ago, is LeBron. You used it as the opportunity to slander LeBron, the same way a lot of other media members do as well. Because you didn't provide the context. You weren't talking about Bronny, how great he was in G League. You didn't talk about Bronny in the other games that he actually played solid in. And then you niggas was running around using stats of, this is what Bronny does in the NBA. Look at his stats, without putting into context that Bronny basically only plays the end of the fourth quarters, barely takes up shots, and he's a defensive-oriented player. But you sitting there like a goofball, throwing up stats from an NBA player that's playing 3, 4, 5 minutes at the end of the fourth quarter, and you think that right there was a justifiable reason to then say, hey, look how bad he playing. Let's stop, bro. We need to stop. In a game where Tyrese dropped 40, he was hooping on everybody. In a game where Anthony Davis got hurt, last game that he played as a Laker, what you decided to lead with was a 4-minute fucking stretch from a second rounder. Let's be fucking serious. The reason why you got that check is because whenever Daddy ESPN tell you that it's time to talk about LeBron again, you do it. That's why you did it. Not because I gotta talk about it now. You don't talk about no other second round pick. There's whole teams that you don't talk about. Be serious, my nigga. And if I'm LeBron, I sure as hell would be upset if a nigga used my son as another reason to use me as ratings. Especially when you lead with, as a father, you don't know dick about me being a father. But as a father, Stephen A., you putting your daughter on TV the same way that you do it or everybody else, it's cringe. We see you put your daughter and your nephew next to you on a camera and we don't care. Even though it's cringe, we don't give a fuck. Grown-ass men got other things to worry about, but that's the problem with you. You're a grown-ass man talking about what somebody else doing with their son. You're a grown-ass man talking about what someone else should do as a husband. And then that nigga came and checked you and you shut your mouth. And then you turn around the same way you doing right here and huffing and puffing again. After the moment's done, even though you had the opportunity to say something when that man was in your face. So why is that? Why is it when men check you, when you ask them to check you, you don't say nothing until it's done? That's what you need to be worried about.
If you sat up there and said, yo, LeBron pissed off, he needs to talk to you man to man.
Fly right
I'll be on
to
the
him.
next plane to LA. Yeah. Where you want me at? Everybody knows that about me. If I'm wrong, I'll say I'm wrong. And if I did something wrong publicly, I'll apologize publicly. I ain't gonna do something wrong publicly and apologize privately. You know that. I don't play that game. That's been my reputation for 30 freaking years.
Yeah.
And then you gonna turn around and come on ESPN with Pat McAfee just to dog me? And what you dogging me about? Be a man. Yo, I don't like him either. Cool. Nah, I have to protect my family. That's the narrative you playing. When I tell y'all, you can't measure the level of how pissed off I have been over that. There is no level of disrespect that has ever been accorded to me in my life.
Apparently, LeBron going on a Pat McAfee show is the most disrespectful thing that Stephen A. Smith has ever had done to him in his entire life. Oh my fuck, bro. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. He's basically saying the same thing over and over again. While that was playing, I watched the Tyrese Maxey game when he put up, again, 42 points. Only 6 of them came against Bronny. That nigga was scoring on AD. He was scoring on Austin Rivers. He was scoring on Dalton Kennedy. He was scoring on everybody. He scored 42 points. 6 of them came on Bronny, bro. 6. And they were tough shots. These are like step back middies contested. These are not like he getting layups. He's just blowing right by him. No, he taking tough shots. Shots that you would normally want someone to take. But hearing Stephen A. sitting here saying the most disrespect that I've ever felt in my life is when he went on the Pat McAfee show and dogged me out. Now, I do agree. It was a very petty move, very strategic, and I know exactly what LeBron was trying to do. I'm not dumb. I'm not sitting here saying that LeBron should be absolved of all responsibility. I also believe that LeBron, if he wants to talk to him, then talk to him. If not, then keep it pushing. You've already approached him, so let it be. It is what it is. Because I do believe that LeBron has done a really great job at just avoiding and ignoring a lot of media members. I can also understand as you get older, your patience wear much thinner, and then you're talking about someone through the lens of your family. I can also understand you're a bit more sensitive in those regards. But at the end of the day, just keep it pushing. I also thought that was very immature for what LeBron did. Nigga, it was nasty. But we can move on, though. NBA season's here. We don't have to keep talking about this. It's over. You're the only nigga that I've ever seen in my life publicly go around after getting checked publicly. You still talking about it later on, even though you didn't have that energy in real time. And it happened again recently. It's done. Let it go. You don't have to spend 20, 30 minutes talking about this. You can add your 2-3 minute comments and let's keep it pushing to the next part of the segment. I'm so tired of hearing Stephen A. Smith talk about this sport, knowing that he doesn't do his due diligence, knowing that he doesn't watch games as thoroughly as he once did, knowing that he's not as informed, but he's still willing to be a professional opinionist about certain things just so he can stay as relevant as possible. He's doing it with basketball. He's been doing it with basketball for the past 5 to 7 years, and now he's trying to move into the political space and have opinions about things that he is not informed about. I am done with Stephen A., bro.